What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to night 2 of Wrestlemania 37, my review of Wrestlemania 37 night 2. This is going to be a little bit more like yesterday's one, just more chatty, more off the cuff, no notes, just sort of going through match by match, giving my thoughts on it, not breaking it down spot for spot. As I mentioned yesterday, I'm sort of stepping back from reviews for a little bit. I might do like a weekly roundup video. I'm not too sure yet. I'll think about it. Just talking about all the things in wrestling. But for now, let's talk about night 2. I forgot to mention yesterday, before the show, Vince McMahon gave a big speech. Now all the wrestlers were on the stage and it was lovely. And then Titus and Hogan gave a speech before the show as well. They were the first things on the actual show after the national anthem. And the first person's music that we heard at WrestleMania this year. No pre-show, remember, because they wanted to have the first music be special and meaningful. It was Titus's music. I was so worried it was going to be Hulk Hogan, and the first music we heard back in front of crowds was Titus, and it was great. I also forgot to mention, like, obviously there's a lot of backstage stuff yesterday with Bayley and all the Hall of Famers, and like Titus being friends with them. Bayley was, complaining that she wasn't the host of Mania, which, I think Bayley, Billie Kay, and Titus O'Neil, that should have been your hosting trio. But night 2 started with Titus and Big Hulk Hogan dressed as pirates, and Titus looked kind of smooth. Titus looked real smooth in his pirate get-up. He got cheered, Hogan got booed again. Almost every time they're on screen, Titus gets cheered, Hogan gets booed, and it's just a wonderful dynamic. But the show opened with the first match was Randy Orton versus The Fiend, and it was bollocks. It was shit. There's no. Alexa Bliss came to the ring doing her whole toddler thing that she's doing. And like I say, that just makes me uncomfortable, the whole thing that she's doing, because I understand it's to keep Bray off TV and make him feel more special, but she doesn't feel weird enough or spooky enough. And I think having that gimmick with Bray and the Funhouse as the TV presenter character would be great, but it's not. She just has a swing and it's all a bit weird and a bit fucking nonsense at times. But Orton came to the ring in some white gear. Rated RKO were matching gear to open and close the show, which was lovely. And then like Alexa walks the ring and there's a big massive box, like a Jack in the Box, which Michael Cole at one point called a box-like structure. And she starts winding it up, and then it opens, and then out comes the Fiend. But he's no longer burnt. He's no longer crispy. He's normal. Still got his dreads, which it's a bit ropes, Bray, but you do you for me. Then he walks, like, he gets raised up on a platform and he jumps off like a crossbody, and the match didn't end in 5 seconds, so it immediately went too long. That's the thing, Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt are both so good, and this was just overbooked, spooky bollocks. The red light was back. That was shit. They fought to the outside, and Bray took loads of punishment and nothing phased him. He got like back suplexed onto the announce table and he just popped back up and went for Randy. Randy went for an RKO, and he gets caught with a mandible claw, and it wasn't the finish. Then we cut to the box, and Alexa's sitting on top of it now, and she's all spooky, and she's got like a evil crown on that's like spurting black goo over, and she looks amazing. I'm not gonna lie, Alexa Bliss looks amazing, and his visual presentation going forward with this character with the Fiend is amazing, and I think they can salvage it. But last night was so tremendously shit, they're gonna need to do a very good job. So Fiend looks at Alexa sitting all spooky on the box, and he's transfixed by her. He can't stop looking at her. And then he gets hit with one RKO. One singular RKO. Remember he kicked out like 18 curb stomps? One RKO, pins him, he's dead. Also, I forgot to say as well, Bray is looking less wide than usual. It looks like he's slimmed up a bit. He's still severely thick and buff, but he looked like he'd cut a little bit of weight, because I was thinking the unburnt Fiend that came in the box wasn't him, because he's typically a lot wider. But he looked in amazing shape, and I just hope they do something with him soon, because he's one of the best in the world. But yeah, so then after the match, Randy leaves and Alexa sat on the box still, just spurting all the shit. And like Bray's looking at her, and the lights go out. I'm thinking at this point, is she turning on Bray? Is she now officially Sister Abigail, who's done with Bray, and she's got a new spooky man, Aleister Black? And that would have been amazing. The lights had come back, there's Aleister Black, decked out, he's got more spooky shit on his face, like face paint and shit, and then he just hits Bray with a black mass. But no, the lights go off, the lights come back on, they're gone. No sign of Aleister Black still. And I'll be interested to see what they do with this on Raw tonight. But I'm not. Do I think it can be saved? Yes. Do I think they will save it? No. I just have to be honest, I don't think they will. And then after that, we went to a Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Natalya and Tamina in another match that I didn't care about. That's the thing, man. Tamina's good. Tamina's really good, but I said yesterday, I think Tamina tends to pull her punches against smaller competitors and looks a bit naff. So having her in there with someone like Nia and Shayna shows how good she actually is. But at the same time, WWE have told us pretty much since their inception that we shouldn't give a fuck about the women's tag team titles. So why should I give a fuck about this match? I just want Shayna Baszler free of Nia Jax to go and be the best wrestler in the world, which she can be. Match was fine. Baszler and Jax retained. Baszler choked out Natty, and that was cool, I guess. But like, why bother with having Shayna in this tag division? Because individually, there's so much talent they're putting in this tag division, but they're just throwing them together as teams. We had Bayley and Sasha, we had the Iconics, we have the Riot Squad, but it's Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, and it's Natalya and Tamina, and it's Billie Kay and Carmella for some reason. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I want WWE to be good. Hopefully, we can turn it around, but the women's tag division's a fucking lost cause. So anyway, moving on from that, we had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Had just a singles match, no stipulations, so there was no jumping off the pirate ship. And this match was great, man. This was really good. I'm seeing there 9 minutes 20. I would have liked a lot more time, especially considering that the women's tag title match got 14 minutes. It got exactly 5 minutes more. And I would like to ask, what is up with that? I'm not going to do my voice, get it all high like the Hurricane would, because that would ruin my career on the internet forever, because you would make fun of me. And I'm not going to be made fun of on the internet. I'm a cool man. But anyway, no. Match was good. Really good. It's Owens and Zayn. Just really hard hitting stuff. It kept cutting to Logan Paul, which I liked and I didn't like. There was a point where like Sami hit Logan with the move and he like points out and he's like, look at this, that's why you're my friend. And Logan's kind of just looking at him like, was me? Like, what? Calm down, just go and wrestle your match. But it was also very clear that Logan Paul hasn't watched wrestling or hasn't like actively watched pro wrestling for like 10 years maybe, because he was very unprepared for just how hard hitting this match was. He was very freaked out by a lot of the moves, but I thought that was cool. I thought it really helped to sell the beef between these two. My only issue is the finish of this match kind of seemed to put a point on their rivalry in WWE, put a line through it, and that makes me sad because, I do want to see a match where Kevin Owens goes off a pirate ship against Sami Zayn. Like, that's all I want. So, overall though, phenomenal match, start to finish. A lot of haluva kicks, a lot of brain busters, a lot of pop-up power bombs, just a lot of everything. And Kevin picked up the win in the end with a stunner. And then, Logan Paul gets in the ring and Sami sort of gets in his face. He's like, why are you celebrating with him? Why are you congratulating him? You're my guest of honor. You're my friend. And Logan shoves him and Sami takes up an amazing over-the-top back bump. It's great. And then Logan raises Kevin's hand without asking him. He just grabs him and raises his hand and everyone's just cheering Kevin Owens. And then Kevin's kind of looking at him and he's like, fucking touch me. And he goes, come on, bring it in, give it up. And then he stuns him. He hits him with a stunner. And Logan Paul's sell of that stunner is absolutely immaculate. Honestly, everyone there just wanted to see Logan Paul get stunned because obviously a lot of people, the perception of Logan Paul is the Suicide Force video. And, I like him now. I think he's turned around and, made a decent career of himself, especially after that. But to a lot of people, that's all he is. And a lot of people hate him. And they just want to see him get stunned. And I get that. Everyone should be getting stunned. It's the stunner. So Kevin stunners him and he goes over. And he flips through it. So he takes the stunner and then flips over Kevin's shoulder in a sell that would make The Rock proud. It's the only way to describe it. It's absolute Rocky Johnson levels of oversell, and it was magnificent. And yeah, the match was good. Just hopefully we get more Kevin and Sami down the line where they can do more stuff. Riddle and Sheamus then had a match for the United States Championship, and I just wanted Sheamus to kill him. I'm fed up with Riddle. There was a segment before this where he was backstage and Khali was there, and he was talking to Khali. Then RVD showed up, and they were all like talking to each other, and like Khali and RVD were being funny, but Riddle's just being a fucking pain in the arse, and I don't like him. And then I had this match with Sheamus, really hard hitting. It was all the good things about a Matt Riddle match that you want, all the NXT Matt Riddle. But in the end, Sheamus got the win, which is 100% the right call. He hit the ropes to go for like a sort of springboard moonsault, and he got bro kicked out the air, and then just get caught right in the mouth. His mouth was bleeding. It was lovely to see, because Matt Riddle's a bit of a bad person, isn't he? And it was just lovely to see Sheamus kick his head off in midair. Obviously, it was reminiscent of the time that Adam Cole did it to Ricochet in NXT, but I kind of preferred this because it was a bro kick, and I love Sheamus, and I'm just so happy to see Sheamus get his due in a really good match. Sheamus is like one of the best ever, I think. You know, Sheamus has... I think he's definitely made the case to be a two-time Hall of Famer with the bar and his singles work. But I think he could make the case to lead... I think the bar could lead a class. I genuinely do. But I think he's on his way to making a case to be a class leader. I think he's that good. And it's just good to see him, you know, get the respect and the recognition that he deserves after all these years. And Sheamus is my dream interview. Sheamus is the interview above all else, because I think he's just would be the most interesting guy to talk to. So, Sheamus, if you're watching this, bro, you know where to find me. But after that, then we had the Nigerian drum fight between Apollo Crews and Big E. This says here the match went 6 minutes and 50 seconds, and it did not feel like that. It felt like so much longer. It was great. So the Nigerian drum fight was just a hardcore match, just a street fight. All the weapons around the ring, but there was like traditional Nigerian drums placed next to the weapons, so they were never used as weapons. But because I think I saw that Vince's thing for it in his mind is that they were going to beat each other like a drum. So that's the reason. So they weren't there as weapons, they were there as like decorations. And it was great. There was a suicide spear, and usually Big E's opponent takes him and takes a back bump, and then Big E kind of falls on his head, but Apollo knows this. So he jumped back with him to like save him. There was a uranagi off the apron onto the steps, which were just laid out. It was just, there was a frog splash that missed through a table. It was amazing. It was so good. It was just a wonderful car crash that lasted under 7 minutes, and I thought it lasted a lot longer. I had a great time. But then, Babatunde, also known as Dabba-Kato, apparently now is going to be known as Commodore Aziz. Came in dressed in like military get-up and fucked up Big E, and Apollo picked up the win. So now he's got his muscle, even though look at Apollo Crews, he doesn't need muscle. And I saw someone tweeting, because obviously Dabba-Kato, Babatunde, he was in the Greatest Royal Rumble, then he became Dabba-Kato in Raw Underground, and now he's apparently becoming Commodore Aziz, because they trademarked that name quite recently, or like Corporal Aziz or something like that. And he's only had one official match as the Greatest Royal Rumble, and he'll now have 3 names within the World Wrestling Federation. But this match was fun. I'm really excited to see what goes on with Apollo going forward, and hopefully this frees up Big E to climb up the ladder and take on the winner of the main event. But we'll get to that. Before that though, we had the Raw Women's Championship match, Rhea Ripley and Asuka, and both those women redeemed themselves from their Charlotte Flair losses. And I say redeemed themselves. Both of them had incredible matches against Charlotte. Raw Woman won. This time, I don't think anyone would have been upset regardless of who won. But for me, for my money, the right pick was Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley won after an incredible match with a Riptide. Just very hard hitting. They just beat the shit out of each other. It's exactly what you wanted to see. The two of them are some of the best in WWE out with gender. I think Rhea Ripley is, absolutely phenomenal. Future of the WWE for sure. And hopefully they just let her continue to be Rhea Ripley and don't involve her in bollocks storylines like they do with all their top stars, like they did with Becky going into Mania 35. But Rhea Ripley won that match. Super happy. I have a Rhea Ripley poster back there on my wardrobe, and I love her. Also, the leather vest that she's wearing on that poster, Ash Costello wore it for the performance last night, because Ash Costello and her band New Year's Day played Rhea to the Ring, and she was wearing her old ring vest, and I thought it was pretty cool. Also, Asuka had this like cool Jason Voorhees inspired mask on, and it was really fucking sick, and the match was great. But then we get to the main event. And it was Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan, and oh my goodness, it was incredible. Edge came out in all white gear, looking icy, looking crisp, looking just fresh as fuck. Him and Randy, someone pointed out on Twitter, have matching gear to start and finish the show. Obviously, and Daniel Bryan's there, being Daniel Bryan. Roman's there, doing the best work of his career. And it was just class. Almost immediately, Jey Uso got involved to sort of even it up, but Bryan and Edge took him out. It was just total carnage, start to finish. There was one point, the steps are set up next to the table, and Roman power bombs Daniel Bryan through the announce table, and the Edge spears him off the steps. Roman and Edge went to spear each other and collided like shoulder to shoulder in midair. That was amazing. There was a point where Edge has Roman, and or Roman's got a chair or something. I think he hits the chair, and it breaks, just leaving a handle, which I thought was just happened for real. But then the next thing happened, it was quite clearly not that it had been gimmicked for the handle to come off. But the handle, one of the handles of the chairs broke off. And then Edge gets him in a crossface, and Roman won't tap. So then he grabs the handle and just puts it through his mouth and just starts yanking on it. And then he's about to tap. Bryan runs in and grabs his hand before he can tap. And then shrugs himself up. Then locks in a yes lock, and Edge has a crossface and Bryan has a yes lock, and they look at each other. And whilst they've still got Roman into submission, they just start headbutting each other. And it was maybe my favourite spot in the history of WrestleMania, maybe even professional wrestling. Up until the finish, when Edge hit Daniel Bryan with a concerto, then he gets speared out of his boots by Edge. No, Edge has got both of them down, and he brings in two chairs, and he puts a chair on the Roman's head and a chair on the Bryan's head. Concerto to Bryan. And as he's going for Roman, Jey Uso comes in, Edge smacks him about with the chair, and then as he goes over Roman, he gets hit with a spear. Roman then puts the chair under Edge's head, concertos Edge, drags him on top of Daniel Bryan, and I was thinking, now, is Edge going to be getting this pin as well? Because he was the one directly on top of Bryan, but Roman made sure to drag him over Bryan so that his shoulders were on the mat. So, and then he was over both of them, so Roman Reigns pinned both men to finish WrestleMania. And oh my god, what a match. What a match, I think. The two main events were the clear matches of the weekend. I think for pure work rate, I'd go Belair and Banks, but for sheer entertainment value, it has to be the Universal title match, because Roman's just on another level, man. He's always been on this level, but we've never allowed him to work at this level. I also forgot to mention there was a segment with Bayley and so it's Hogan and Titus are out, and Hogan's getting booed obviously, and then Bayley comes out and she's like, I'm the real host of WrestleMania. And the Bellas come out, they start slagging her, and then they punch Bayley and she rolls the whole way down the ramp. It's amazing. And then they all start celebrating together, and they start booing. And people were tweeting, oh, the fans are booing the Bellas. They're not. The fans were cheering because they were dancing with Titus. And then Hogan starts dancing, and everyone starts to boo the second Hogan gets involved. Obviously, it's not great seeing the Bellas punch Bayley, but because she's Bayley and she's so entertaining, she hammed it up and rolled the whole way down the ramp. And it was just a bit naff. The Hogan involvement will never sit right with me. But it is what it is. You could also see the sheer joy in Titus's face when Hogan was getting booed, so that was fun. Overall, though, what did I think of WrestleMania Night 2? Thought it was a really fun show. I think without the first hour, because the first two matches were shit, with that first hour, it was a perfect follow-up to Night 1. Just a really, really fun 2 nights of professional wrestling. Really reaffirms, my fandom. It's so good, it makes me, it reaffirms why I love wrestling so much. It's one of those shows, which they don't come along that often, but when they do, I will always sing their praises like that. And, WrestleMania 37 was definitely one of those shows. So, yeah, that is it for this video. I'll maybe be back with a sort of chat about the Raw after Mania. Maybe do one at the end of the week talking about Raw, NXT, AEW, and SmackDown. I'm not sure. But thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Like I say, I'm kind of moving away from reviews right now, but more interviews should be out soon. I'm going to really focus in on that, get them, crank them out. So if you like me, you like my content, you like my interviews, you even like this, subscribe to stick around, stay notified of when I have more stuff coming. Hopefully that'll be soon. Leave a like as well, and just share this around to any of your friends who like professional wrestling. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time.